What is going on, everybody? This is the second ever episode of the KBHL podcast. We have the 2024 Comeback Player of the Year, Jack Flemming. What is going on, man?
What's up? I'm glad to be here. Glad to be talking up.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be back. That comeback is
yeah. I was
pretty
gonna
big.
say,
Some people said it probably wouldn't happen, but it ended up happening.
some
So,
people said it wasn't gonna happen. Wasn't gonna happen. But no, man. I guess that's definitely the first thing we can talk about because for the longest time is everybody portrayed an image that I never wanted you to come back, and I would tell everybody straight up, I'm like, that's not the case. I'm like,
yeah,
if I didn't care, I mean, there's only one person, and we don't ever have to name that individual on here that I that I don't really ever invite back out. But I mean, everybody else, if you feel like coming out to play hockey, come out to play hockey, and that's always how I've been. So, but no,
word.
man, coming back, your first game back, it was what, 2 goals? Yeah, 2 goals,
Yeah,
first game back. Yeah,
2 goals, 2 cramps. It was a
yeah,
good
yeah.
set, good
And
balance.
And then and then I think you had another 2 or 3 goals throughout the day when we played on the 30th,
Yeah, I think
if
that's what
if I
I think I
remember
might have had
right.
an assist or two in there as well, but
Somewhere,
somewhere I don't know.
yeah,
It was a
somewhere in there.
multi-point day. That
Yeah,
day was chaotic, but it was fun. So.
it's good to know. It's good to forget how many points you have. That's how I view it. It's good to forget. But
Yeah.
no, man. Honestly, until you came back, I was gonna give that award to Jared, and then you came back, dude, and you just
Oh, dang.
lit it up. And then, oh no, I mean, he only came back, I think, the one time too, but he had that clutch OT winner. And I'm trying to remember. I think the second to last video of the year. I should have done my research. I mean, it is my podcast after all, but I should have done some research. But I remember he had that overtime winner. Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, yeah, that was. I feel like you were most deserving of comeback player of the year, getting 7 points in 2 days of hockey, so like four
Yeah,
games. So,
cool.
but what was your reaction? I know you've only been out the 2 times, but what was your reactions? I don't know if you saw the end of the newest video, but the reactions to the awards at the end of it.
From what I could see, I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty solid." That's pretty
Yeah,
much how I figured it with Paul and
yeah,
stuff, but, coming back, it was pretty cool because it was just different. It was
yeah,
different than, the EV days, which was,
yeah,
the
dude.
last time I was there.
Yeah,
I
when
was like,
nobody
"This
knew how to
is."
hold a stick, and
Yep.
I was so thinking back at it, I remember apologizing to you because I felt so bad because my stress was just so through the roof about getting everybody to actually show up, getting us to be able to play, and it was
Mhm.
something so little about just calling high sticks. Honestly, just making sure that we weren't hitting each other in the face. Like it really,
Yeah.
like I remember that, dude. And people, I mean, people were giving me hell about it for. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll still make. I mean, funny enough, it's jokes to me, but none regarding you. So I always
Yeah.
find that funny. Um,
Yeah.
but no,
It's
man, it's go ahead, go ahead.
it's wild because I'm like one of the biggest sore losers out there. I'm not gonna lie. I
Oh
hate
yeah,
losing.
yeah,
I
I
hate
am too.
losing.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's where most of that happened before. I was just like, because we were just getting dog the whole day because it was 3v2 because we were down a
yeah,
man. And everyone was
because
celebrating, and I was like, bruh.
yeah. Well, I
That's what
remember
I
it
was
was so
like.
scuffed because we'd have to wait because three guys did wrestling. So
Yeah.
Jarrett, Jason, and AJ all had wrestling, so we couldn't
hmm
those teams had to play a man down. You had to play a man down with Jason, and then Nelson couldn't play because his other two teammates were Jared and AJ. So,
Yeah. It
AJ
was
still gives. No, go ahead, go ahead.
it was scuffed, but it was fun
Yeah.
regardless. So.
Yeah, fun, but beyond scuffed and never happening again. Never
Yeah.
happening
Well,
again.
that's what I was like when I came back. I was like, wait, we have transitions. We have more than 5 players per team. I was like,
Yeah,
dang.
exactly. Yeah,
It's
we
like
have
we got
goalies. Yeah, that's
yeah.
that dude, honestly, that was the biggest grind was finding people to play goalie because
Oh, I'm sure.
we didn't because what that year we did it was 2021. So for majority of 2022, all that it was okay, well, it's going to be 4v4 and then you have a designated guy who can play goalie. And it was
Yeah.
kind of along the lines of like a lacrosse goalie to where like if he made the save, he could run out. Like, if I was playing most of the
Yeah.
time I kind of just played goalie, with just like a stick and I think sometimes I would wear like old shin guards because it hurts, especially when Ethan's
Yeah.
shooting at you. And like I remember, we made the rule to where like if I got it, if I wanted to go coast to coast, I could, but then it just meant
Mhm.
that like the net was open. So
Yeah.
finally, I remember saying like, "Okay, I will play goalie for a game, but I want somebody else to play because hockey, I feel like is one of those things to where like unless you're good and honestly you're playing on skates is the only time you can really play like half court. Like half
Oh, for
court with
sure.
ball would be just miserable. It would be
Yeah.
so terrible. So I think I remember texting Hunter North because he heard about it from Jacob Lynch.
Okay.
And as soon as Jacob texted me, he's like, "Hey, North wants to come out and play." And I remember the immediate response was one word, and it was goalie. Tell him to buy a cup. And so yeah, but honestly, dude, North is like, have you been out when North's?
I don't know
It,
if I have. I don't know if I have because I know my first game back, it was against you and net, and that was
yeah, it
that was
was.
rough. That was
Yeah, it
rough.
was. It
I
was. It
was
was me
like,
and
some of
it
them
was.
saves, I was like, "How is he doing this?"
Dude, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, man. I'm so hot and cold. I even said that about myself. Like, you know, you look at games like that we did in the second to last video. I let up 2 goals in 2 games. Both of them were by you. And
Mhm.
then in the 30th, in that first game, dude, I let up 5, I think. You
Yeah.
know, and it's so difficult, man. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like I give even for obviously the goalies that play with puck. How they're
Mhm.
able to do that. They're psychopaths. But
Well,
you know,
you look at, like, the NHL too, like, from year
yeah,
to year, you look at the top goalies, and then you look at and it always just changing. Like, this
yeah,
year, like, Logan Thompson being, like, one of the
dude.
top goalies, like,
Yeah, and
what? And then
last
you
year he
have
got released. Yeah,
yeah, and then you have someone like Shesterkin, who's,
yeah.
like, typically always good, and, I think he's having a bit of a down year this year, I don't even remember,
I
but
think he's like, if I remember correctly, he's like barely
Swayman's the
above.
one that was having a Swayman was the one having a down year. Like, and you look at
Yeah,
the Bruins standings, and it's, like, reflected in
yeah,
it. Then you look at someone like Jari, who's, like, basically
yeah,
out of the league now, who
yeah.
was,
He's
like,
playing for
a
the
top
minors.
yep, who was, like, a top 10 goalie. It's
Yeah.
so weird how, like, streaky and stuff is. I wonder how much of, like, the defense, like, actually plays a role in it. Because
Well, dude,
like, who's defending for you as well?
dude, you're lucky. Obviously, I'm a big Sabres fan. I know you're a big Caps fan. And it's like, there's nights where I watch the Sabres, man, and poor UPL. He just gets hung out to
Mhm.
dry. 2-on-1s, 3-on-1s, 2-on-0s. So, sometimes he makes the saves, and me and my dad jump up out of our chairs, and then
Mhm.
other times it's he's getting undressed, and they walk it in, and it's just
Yep.
you feel
Well, and
bad for him.
it's wild too, because like, the Sabres have, like, a genuinely, like, decent defense. Like, they have several,
I
like, star
Yeah.
defenders, but
I
it's
always
just
joke that
wild.
if they played in any other city other than Buffalo, they'd be a top team in the
They
East.
bro,
You
I don't get how they're not.
you
Like, that
take
roster
you take them out of Buffalo, and you put them in like you replace them with Utah, and Utah is the best team in the
for
West.
sure.
Like,
For
I just
sure.
I don't get it, man, and that's another reason why I was honestly excited that you wanted to do it because like you and only like and a handful of the guys like actually watch and like know a lot about hockey. So it was
Yeah.
nice because I know more about football than I know about hockey, but I know my stuff with hockey.
Yeah.
It's just because I grew up playing football for so long. But
Uh-huh.
I we talked about it, I think, at the last hockey. How we are so bad is mind-boggling. Tage Thompson was a 90
Yeah.
point had a 90-point season 2 years ago. Dahlin is always in, like, the Norris mix. He usually always falls
Yep.
short by a couple of points, and then, UPL, when he's hot, can be a good goalie, but the thing
Yep.
is one night, he'll have a 2 or 3 night stretch where he only lets 2 or 3 in, and then, like, Saturday against Nashville, he let in 5 against a team
Mhm.
who is 0-6 in their last 6. Like, it's just how
It's
it goes,
awful.
man.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because the Sabres, like, always have good young talent too. Like, I look
Always.
at, like, Owen Power, he's a dog. I mean, that comes with nature of being,
Yeah.
like, uh, bad typically because you get,
Yeah,
like, lottery
exactly.
picks and stuff, but, like, it's like they always have it's kinda like New York because the Rangers will always get, like, top prospects, but it's like they can't develop it, but it's different with the Sabres because the Sabres can,
Yeah.
like, actually develop players and they become good, but then it's like it
Then
never, like,
they
just meshes together. It
Yeah,
it
and then
never
they leave, and then they become Stanley Cup champions. That's usually like what me and my dad and my grandfather joke about. I mean, you look at some of the guys who have been on recent Stanley Cup rosters. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, the first season he left the Sabres was this Stanley Cup champion with the Blues. The first season that Eichel left with the Knights. Oh,
Oh, I think it buffered a little bit, but I
okay,
think we're
okay.
good.
Um, I mean, yeah, the first season that I guess I'll restart because I don't know if you heard me, but we developed talent and then we traded away and they become Stanley Cup champions.
Like
Ryan
Eichel.
O'Reilly, yeah, Ryan O'Reilly, Eichel, Reinhart.
Yep.
I mean, even some of the smaller guys. I mean, Evan Rodriguez. I mean, he was known for being on the Penguins, but beginning of the
Yep.
career, he was on the Sabres. We got Jake
Wasn't he
McCabe.
he Rodriguez, was he the one that was on the Panthers last year during their Stanley Cup
Yes.
run?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Okposo, I mean, I won't count Okposo because we just traded him to get a ring. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
I mean, we we had him for a majority of his career, but I mean,
Mhm.
still leaves the Sabres, goes and wins a ring.
Yep.
So, I mean, and even you look at guys like Allmark. I think a lot of people forget that Allmark played for the Sabres and was good for the Sabres, but we
Yeah.
just weren't good.
It
You know,
was that trade because 'cause y'all traded him to Boston, right?
I don't think
Y'all
we got a
offloaded
lot
him.
back. Yeah,
No,
I
you
don't think
didn't.
we got a
That trade kinda reminds me of the Logan Thompson trade from this past
yeah,
summer because I think we gave up, like, 2 third-round picks, and I think it
mhm,
was, like, fairly similar return for Boston. Like, I
yeah,
don't think y'all might have got, like, a second or something,
yeah. It was
and
not a
then
lot.
he turned into, like, a top goalie and
Yeah,
stuff
for like
then.
2, 3 years. I mean, now
Yeah.
now I honestly I don't know how he's doing with Ottawa. I know Ottawa's not.
I th I wanna say I think he's having a down year, but he's bounced back. It's weird
Yeah,
because like, all the goalies this year are having down years. It's,
yeah,
like, really odd except Hellebuck, but
yeah. But
It's Connor
Jesus H,
Hellebuck.
dude, he's got like what
Yeah.
26 wins already or something like that, dude. And
Yeah.
halfway through the season, it's
I'm interested to see him in the Four Nations because
yeah,
he's playing for America, I think.
yeah. Honestly,
So,
our goalie roster is insane. Him,
yeah.
Otter, and then who's the third?
Is it Quick or is that for Canada? I can't ever
No,
remember.
no. Quick's American, but
Okay.
I don't
Let's
think he's
see.
playing. But I know it's Ottinger, Hellebuck, and
Oh,
I
it's
can't remember
Swayman. Swayman
Swayman.
is the third
Okay,
one. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see because like I think that's kind of like what we have. I mean, obviously our roster is unbelievable, but like
Yeah.
you know, Canada's got all the forwards. I
Yep.
mean, we were texting about that power play unit. I mean,
That's
we definitely
scary.
have the goalies. I think we
Yeah.
definitely have the goalies.
I saw a post the other day about that, like, after you sent it to me, and it
Yeah,
was talking about how, like, all the players on that power play unit, and then they were like, "You have all these people that are future Hall of Famers, and then you have Sam Reinhart, who's, like, a really, really good player and all,
yeah,
like, big goal scorer and stuff, but then
yeah.
10, 15 years from now, everyone's gonna look at that and be like, 'Dang, you had these 4 Hall of Famers,' and then it's just like, 'Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, and the Sam Reinhart
and then
guy."
Sam Reinhart.
But
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I was like
exactly.
but I think he might get the most points, like, not points, but probably goals out of that line because I
Yeah,
think he's probably the best pure goal scorer on that
yeah,
Canada line. Because I mean, you have, like, McDavid, you have Crosby and stuff
yeah.
who can score goals, don't get me wrong, but, like, they're
But
more,
I
like,
wouldn't be.
kinda set up men.
I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised if they're more like facilitators this go around,
Uh-huh.
especially with like Makar too. Like
Makar
obviously we,
power quarterback in that
yeah,
power play is gonna be nasty. Ugh,
dude,
I don't even wanna
because
watch.
yeah, because what tomorrow it's Canada against who? Is it Sweden or is it Finland?
I don't know, it's one of those 2 teams,
Yeah,
though.
because
I'm
I
not
know
entirely sure.
USA doesn't play tomorrow. I know that, but
Yeah,
I know Canada plays. So
yeah.
I kind of like what they're doing this year. Like I know a lot of people are complaining that there's not more than the four nations. You know,
Uh-huh.
they're like, where's like the Czech Republic? And it's like, dude, low key, it's just Pasternak though.
Yeah.
Like, so, and that's what a lot of people were saying. They're like, yeah, like sure, invite some of these guys out, and then no disrespect, but they're going to get absolutely mauled
Oh,
by,
for sure.
you know, no, I mean that's no disrespect to him. I mean, Pasternak took them far. I remember in the Olympics, but
Mhm.
um, still, like I think it's
Yeah.
good what they did. They picked the four nations that have the most NHL players, and it's gonna be good.
Yeah. The one team I would have liked to see, selfishly, just because of Ovechkin, I would have liked to see Russia, but, like, I get why they didn't and everything,
Yeah.
but I'm
Well,
like, it would have been cool to see Obi compete, but then
yeah.
again, I'll take the rest. I'll take the
I
rest
was
because
gonna say, yeah, he
The
gets,
Caps have no players in the 4 nations, which is crazy because 'cause they're
dude.
like a
Yeah, you,
top team in the league. So
yeah,
I'm interested to see how that affects, like, the second half of the season for certain teams because
yeah.
some of these teams have, like, their main like, the core of their roster, like, all at the tournament, so I'm
I mean,
interested
yeah,
to
dude.
see.
The Sabres have Dahlin and UPL. We have our best defenseman and our best
Yep.
goalie. And dude, I mean, in my opinion, Tage should be on the four nations, but I
Oh, for
mean, I
sure.
can't I
Ugh.
can't I can't be too greedy because I literally told my dad when they announced this, I told him in like October, I was like, as soon as they release jerseys, I was like, I'm buying a Tage Team USA jersey. And I remember reading the roster and seeing that he wasn't on it, dude. I was so pissed.
Bro, I
I was
was
so
mad about
mad.
that one too. I don't get it. I mean, I get wanting to go, like, more defensive heavy and
Yeah,
stuff, but why not just go best on best? Because it's just
yeah,
gonna be like the All-Star game. It's just gonna be, like, a ton of scoring. Like, the score I
yeah,
wouldn't be shocked if, like, the score was, like, 8-12 or something like that.
yeah,
Something crazy. Just
yeah,
because it's like, how are you stopping some of that? Like,
yeah.
I just don't
Well,
see it happening.
and the thing is like, how physical are they gonna be? I mean, because like,
Mhm.
historically, you're never ever that physical for the All-Star break, but I mean, like,
Nope.
you're playing for your country now, so like, it's to wonder how physical, how hard are they gonna be hitting guys, with the loose pucks in the corner or in front of the net? I think that's also another thing to wonder. So,
Yeah.
because
That'll be interesting to see.
yeah, I mean,
So,
Tage has a very lengthy injury history, so like it would suck. I mean, not that we're anywhere near the playoffs, but it would be nice to put on a good run for the end of the season,
oh, for
just
sure.
literally for morale. And it would suck for him to be like doing great, and then all of a sudden, oh, lower body injury, out for the rest of the season.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, we'll see how physical they are. I mean, Canada has what, Marchand on their team, so
yeah,
it might get a little chippy, I'm not gonna lie.
yeah. Well,
But
dude. I There's not a lot of hockey players I hate, but he's gotta be up there.
yeah,
Like, even if I'm not watching the Sabres, I just hate watching him. Like, I mean,
yep.
and the worst way is like whenever I'm playing ball in my Alexandria league, is I kind of
Mhm.
play exactly like him. Like I'm very like, it's not supposed to be like, I play in just like the draft league, so it's literally just like pretty much like the beer league version
Uh-huh.
of it. So like, you're not supposed to be that crazy physical, and like I'm bumping guys into the boards. I'm like I'm throwing a couple bows, but I always feel bad. Then my dad's like, for someone who hates Martians so much, you kind of play like him. And I was like, that's it. But I was like, I remember I put my headphones on and didn't talk to him for like the rest of the drive home.
Yeah.
But
No,
obviously,
that's
obviously
rough.
kidding.
I try to do that a little bit on the boards sometimes. Like,
Yes,
depending on
dude.
who it is,
Carson
I'll,
was
like, try
telling me
and
that
body.
the one night he spent the night after your first game back, and he was like,
Mhm.
dude, Jack was beating the hell out of me up against the cage, man. But
Bruh, here's the thing, because whenever people play, like, up against the boards, they play the puck, but, like, most people there aren't as skilled, so, like, I try to play the body and just box them out, like, a little bit
yeah,
from getting to the puck, because then it's
yeah,
just easier that way.
yeah,
But, yeah, sometimes depending on who it is, I'll be cognizant of who it is, but, like, if it's
yeah.
someone like Carson, like, yeah, Imma be bumping into him.
Well, because like he doesn't get mad about it, and that's
Mhm.
I love all my boys out there, but some guys are very like touchy feely, where like if you
Yeah.
bump into them, like, it's a war zone after that. I mean, for example,
Yeah.
like McKinley is notorious for for boarding people
Yep.
into the cage. I remember there was this one. I think it's in a video somewhere where Saad is trying to dig. Like, it went like up. it went like here, like right on the edge of the pavement, but it was pressed up against the cage. And I
Uh-huh.
remember Assad went to go dig it out, and McKinley just laid a shoulder right into his back and just checked him right into the cage.
That's crazy.
So yeah,
Sod's one that he's more like physical. You can't move him off
yes.
the ball. You can't move him off
Oh,
the ball,
dude.
bro. It's rough.
Yeah. Dude, like, yeah, if we ever built a team, like I've always Carson has entertained me with this idea, and he shouldn't because it's such a crazy idea. But if we ever like built a serious team, like a Sunday team or something like that, like, dude, a line with like you, Soderholm, and Carson would it would be like the ball would like get across midline once and never leave because like you guys would just keep it in the zone the entire time. Like,
Yeah.
because there's definitely like just in my opinion three tiers, and it's just it's skill, speed, and strength. And like
Yeah.
you definitely fit in the skill and strength. Not that you're slow, because you're probably a lot faster than I am.
Yeah. I'm out of shape
But
though. My
yeah,
pace, like I'm not in like my cross country days. I'm like, cause that's one thing I've noticed the last 2 times out there. It's like, dang, I need to start running or doing something again. Cause I,
yeah.
I don't know, I'm out of shape. I was like, I can't keep up. I'm like, this is like my second shift and I'm dead.
Yeah. Well, like that's how it is sometimes. Like whenever I play in Alexandria, like usually my first shift, I'm puffing as soon as I get back to the
Hmm.
bench. But like what I've noticed with me is like the longer I play, the better I am about like catching my breath. It's weird. Like I almost work in reverse. I kind of get like exhausted after my first shift. And then
Uh-huh.
I kind of like work my way up instead of like, okay, well, I'm fine after my first shift and I get tired as the night goes on. But it's so crazy, dude, because in Alexandria, there's guys who are young like me, like, I think there's one other guy that's maybe 19, maybe 20 years old. And then you got guys that are like in their 50s and 60s playing up there. So like
That
the age gap is so big, dude.
Yeah. So
And
you're hitting
I'm
them like Marshan. You're hitting like a 60-year-old like Marshan and stuff, bodying them.
exactly, yeah, because none of those guys care about your well-being. Like
Uh-huh.
if you're because I got in trouble last year, and I think I remember telling this story on one of my other podcasts. I remember we were in a game, it was 2-2, and I think if I remember correctly, I was just trying to keep the ball in. So they went around the boards, the ball was coming up, and I remember I didn't know there was a guy coming up behind me, and I didn't know, I didn't see him. So I remember I just went like this to try to like make myself a wall to get the ball to stop, and he tried pinching himself between me
Oh.
and the boards. So I hit him, and again, I didn't know where he was. So I hit
Hmm.
him, and he fell like a house of cards. So I mean, of course, everyone came over and started like pushing and shoving me like that. And I mean, I wasn't gonna back down, so I did. I was like, like okay, like yeah, sure, come pick on. I was 18 at the time, and I was like, yeah, come pick on the 18-year-old for an accident.
Yeah.
And I remember, do you remember that clip of the Ohio State Michigan game a couple years ago with the DB in front of like the Ohio State DB in front of the three Michigan linemen?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
It was like that, but opposite. It was
Oh
like three.
gosh.
It was like three smaller guys, and then me. So I remember I ended up getting ejected, um, and it was just so chaotic because like apparently some dad brought his like 8-year-old son there.
Oh
I was
gosh.
screaming my brains out, cussing, cussing like crazy, this and that, and um, I felt so bad. And dude, it was to the point to where like we kind of had like an NHLPA meeting. Like he called me like the next day, and we had like a 20-minute conversation about whether or not he was gonna let me come back or not. I
That's
mean, so
wild.
yeah, so thankfully, I mean, I told him that it was an accident and that my emotions just kind of like got the best of me.
Yeah.
Um, of course, Carson's texting me now after I texted him 45 minutes ago. I was gonna see if he wanted to hop on with us, but I mean, we shouldn't be surprised that Carson is late
Yeah.
responding to something.
That guy,
uh,
he just shows up late, like for
he,
everything.
I mean,
He's
we always
he's one of
joke.
those people.
Yeah, I mean, I love him to death, and he's one of my best friends. But I mean, dude, if you got to tell him 30 minutes before you want to be somewhere. Like
Oh, for sure.
if hockey's at 10, I tell him to be there by 9:30, and maybe if I'm lucky, he'll show up at 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember last summer, so me and Charles, we bought like a boat together,
Mhm.
like a $400 boat.
I
We were all
I
fixing it
remember.
up.
Yeah, I remember he was telling me about that.
Yeah, all the guys and stuff were fixing it up. And I guess he was working at the gas station. So he had an excuse for being late, but like all the guys were pulling up. And he pulled up like pretty much as we were basically finishing. And he just had like food. So he just had like a box of food from like
Oh,
the
it's
chicken place. And
adorable.
he was
Yeah.
just sitting there eating it and was like telling us like, oh yeah, you missed the spot, like stuff like that. And I was like, it's like typical Carson, typical Carson.
Oh, gotta love him though, man. You got
Yep.
like, dude, it's the same way. I think a few years ago, we were going to this monster truck show down in Richmond, and we were like, all right, Carl, like we got to leave by, X, Y, and Z. And I think I literally remember telling him, like, if you are not ready by the time we are ready to leave, we are coming to pick you up because we cannot, because it's down in Richmond, so it's like 2 hours away
Uh-huh.
without traffic.
Yep.
So once you add traffic in there, I remember we actually ended up getting caught, shocker, and we were in standstill traffic, and he got out of the car because he wanted to stretch. We were sitting like my dad had the car. Pardon me. My dad had the car in park, and we just hear the door open, and we're like, "Dude, what are you?" He's like, "Oh, dude, I was starting to get a cramp. I had to stretch." And we were like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing, man?"
Yeah.
Like, but
No, Carson, he has like such a unique personality. Like
it really,
I've never
he's
met
one of
anybody
one.
else that has like he's literally one of one. And but it's like always a good time, always a good time. And
Always, never
he's
a bad
always
time.
he's also like always down for everything. Like
Yeah.
I remember like same thing with Charles. Like so Charles goes to Bama, right?
Yes.
I when Bama played Georgia, like I was joking with Charles, like, oh, I want to go to that game. I want to go to that
Yeah.
game. And he basically like called me like a week or 2 weeks before and was like, hey, I got a ticket if you want to go. You could buy a ticket off my roommate. And I was like, oh, bet and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was during when we were getting the hurricane, right? So I was
Oh,
originally
okay.
gonna either like take a plane or take the train or something. I was like, I've never been on a train. I'll take the train. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
But it ended up getting canceled. So I called like Carson
Oh,
the night
jeez.
before, me and Charles. And Carson was like, yeah, I'll go to Bama this weekend with y'all. And I'm like,
Oh my.
he didn't even go to the game or anything. He just went
Yeah.
down there. He just rode down. He's like, "Yeah, I've never been to Bama. That sounds fun."
I
So
remember
I
him
was
telling me
like,
that story, and I like couldn't believe. And that's the craziest thing, dude. Is like I could call Carb tomorrow. Like he could probably be like mid class, and I'd be like, "Hey, want to go like X, Y, and Z with me?" He'd be like, "Oh yeah."
"Yeah." It's just no. Well,
I'll
the
go.
the the crazy thing is he didn't even tell his like parents. He said, "Oh, they'll figure it out eventually." And like, so his mom apparently was in like Mexico or something, like
Yeah, I
Cancun or
think
something with her
I think they
friends.
were on vacation. Yeah.
And she didn't know apparently. So when we went down to Tech to see like his concert for choir and stuff, she
Mhm.
was basically telling us just the story about it and stuff. And she was like, "Yeah, I was looking at my Life 360 and I looked at the map and I was like, why is Carson in Bama? I was like, why is he like that far away from me?" And I was like, dang. I was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
that's my
dude.
bad. I thought he told you."
Yeah. Oh, jeez. You gotta love Carla, man. You gotta
For
love him.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Uh, yeah, dude. I meant to follow up on this earlier when you were talking about it, about how much the skill gap has changed since the first time you played to at the end of the year in 2024. Like,
Oh,
what was like the biggest thing you've noticed? I guess like from everybody.
It's it's kinda crazy because like, I remember when we played before, when it was, like, 3 on
Mhm.
3, it was pretty easy to just, like you do, like, a simple, like, poke check, get the puck, you'd, like,
Yeah,
just deke some like, you'd take, like, 1 deke, you can get through people, and
exactly.
it wouldn't even be, like, a skilled deke, it'd just be, like,
No, it would just be like
pulling
a
it
one
around.
touch. Yeah,
Yep. But yeah, and then when I came back, I was like, "Wait, these people are, like, actually playing defense, they're getting in between, like, me
yeah,
and the puck." I was like, "Did I just get, like, stick lifted?" I was like, "What was that?"
dude. I'll tell you what,
But
who's hell on a stick lift, and Dad taught Carson how to do this. My dad and Carson are like notorious for lifting. I
mhm.
mean, I'll do it on occasion, but I mean, I've played forward twice since February because there's usually been like a goalie call out. But
Ugh.
yeah, Carson. Uh, my dad taught Carson how to stick lift, and like that's like one of Carr's like excuse me, that's like one of Carr's like specialties.
Yeah.
But that's like one thing I like, and it makes me happy because like a lot of the guys, like I remember just like working with them like individually, like a lot
Mhm.
of the guys that like needed more help, and it's like it's crazy to see. Like you even watch like the first ever video that I've uploaded on this channel, and then you watch even like the newest video. Like you look at some of the guys like Ryan and Tristan who have,
Mhm.
at first where like, you know, still learning, they didn't really have like a whole bunch of hockey IQ, but then like now, dude, I mean, like you can kind of put Tristan anywhere, he'll succeed. Ryan's
Mhm.
getting really, really good on defense. Like his stick handling has gotten way. I mean, like everybody has gotten just like better.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's the other thing I've noticed. Some people, like, kinda fit into, like, natural roles. Like, some people are just
yeah,
better at defense, and I've noticed that, and I was like, "Okay." Like, you have people like Ethan who, like, he's always gonna play
yeah,
forward. Like, he
yeah.
there's no point in playing
Never,
him on D.
yeah,
Never.
never. You might as
Same thing with,
well.
like, Beatrice, but
Yeah.
I was like I was like, yeah, it's interesting to see how they, like, slide into because some of them are, like, really, like, actually, like, genuinely really good defensemen
Yeah,
and stuff, and I was
yeah,
like that was one thing that I was pretty impressed with. I was like, "That's
yeah.
pretty cool to see, like, just the growth of, like, different people and stuff," which, I mean, it's not like this is, like, pro or anything, and, like,
No,
the
I mean it's
skill
at
gap
the
is big, but, like, it closed a lot quicker than I think I
yes,
thought it would, so
yeah. It's not as big as it was when we first started playing.
yeah.
There's still definitely some, but yeah, instead of being from like, A to D, it's like A to high C, low B now. Like
Yeah.
that's how I like, and C is literally the guys who are picking up the stick for the first time ever.
Uh-huh.
So, and honestly, like I know ball hockey, I talk with like guys like Nathan all the time, which I got to get
Uh-huh.
him on here at some point. Which I was hoping that I could get you and him on here because then we could have like such crazy in-depth hockey, kind of like how we
Oh,
had
for
earlier.
sure. Yeah.
Um, but I always talk to him about it, and it's a shame that ball hockey gets so much hate that it does because it's not ice or roller. And
Yeah.
like I think about it like this, I mean, the fact like 3 years ago, I guess it would have been four now. It was a miracle that I found 12 people that wanted to play ball,
For
that wanted to
sure.
play hockey. Now it's like we don't. Now it's like a low number day if we have 12 people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
And
that's
I don't get, like, the hate behind ball hockey because, like, if you look at hockey, like, at a
yeah,
sense, like, compared to all other sports, it's, like, one of, like, the highest, like, cost of entry for any
without a
sports.
doubt.
That's part of the reason why it's not as big because I think
Mhm.
you put a hockey stick and, like, a puck and stuff in people's hands, they're gonna probably pick hockey over some of these other sports that
I
are, like,
guarantee it.
popular and
Yeah,
stuff, but it's just so expensive to, like, actually get into it, and that's, like, one of,
yeah.
like, the biggest, like, barriers, like, holding, like, hockey as a whole back. And I'm
Mhm.
like, ball hockey, like, it's way cheaper. Like, it's cheaper
Yeah,
to get sticks, it's cheaper to get balls, like, you could,
yeah.
I don't know, make your own net if you wanted to,
Yeah, if you really
but
wanted to, like,
but I don't know, it's like I don't get why there's, like, so much hate towards it, especially from people that, like, play ice hockey and stuff like that, they're like, "Oh, I don't play
yeah,
ball hockey." Like, I
yeah. Nate was kind of explaining it to me, and he was like, he was like, this is like what he personally experienced, and he's assuming that that's how it is across like the hockey community. Is like he went to school with a guy who like strictly played ball, and like was claiming that he was better than the guys who were playing ice. So he was just always looked at as kind of just like I'm trying to keep this as PG as I can, just like a bad
Yeah,
guy. So like he was always
yeah.
looked at differently. So he thinks like
Yeah,
it's that way probably across everywhere else, and that's why it's so hated.
yeah.
And I
That's
understand, and
yeah, that's
to an
kinda
extent.
like that's kinda like, did you see the guys so, like, when they came out, they were adding, like, football to the, Olympics, and everybody was, like, doing their mock like, for
Oh
flag
yeah.
football for the Olympics, everybody was doing, like, their mock rosters. They're like, "Oh, give me Lamar, give me Mahomes."
Yeah. Oh, I think we got a little bit of a buffer. I'll have to. I think I lost you again. Okay.
Okay. I don't know what the last part you heard, but I was comparing like like when they came out saying that they were going to do flag football for the
Mhm.
Olympics. Everybody was doing their mock rosters. They're like, "Oh, give me like Lamar at quarterback, give me
Yeah,
Mahomes," and then the guy from like the guy that played quarterback for like the American flag football team and stuff. He basically came
yeah.
out and was like, "Oh, you don't understand. There's different rules and stuff. They
Mhm.
wouldn't be as good as I am and stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that." And
remember that too. I remember he said
everybody,
he was a better quarterback when it came
yeah.
to flag football than Mahomes was. Yeah, I remember that.
And everybody was like going in on him. They're like, "No, you're not. Like, we get they're different, but like football's
Yeah,
football." I think it's
yeah,
probably like a similar thing with like ball hockey versus that. Because I mean, a lot of like the basics are the same, but like the way
yeah,
like a puck like roll like skids on ice versus like how like the balls roll, that's
yeah,
something that's like weird and like
yeah.
different. And like with ball hockey, like how the ball is bouncing changes like
A lot.
basically like yeah,
Yeah,
basically like if it's colder outside it's going to be like harder and it's going to bounce more
yeah,
and stuff. That's one thing I was like, dang, I noticed because like between the two times we played I was like, oh, they're
yeah.
bouncing like completely differently.
Well, dude, and that's another thing is like in my Alexandria league, we play on sport court. So, the ball, it hits once and then it dies. But
Uh-huh.
we play on the concrete, that thing can bounce the entire way down and no
Yep.
one no one will touch it. You know.
Yep.
Um but yeah, I remember I think it was Paul Bisnet. Right? I don't know how the heck you say his last name. But
Yeah, I know who
he
you're talking
he said something on I think he's on the Spit and Chicklets podcast, if I remember correctly. But he was saying like, well, why isn't ball hockey like or roller like why isn't like ball or roller hockey, an Olympic sport? Like well, obviously we have
true.
regular hockey, you know, and I saw a thing, and honestly, the International Ball Hockey Federation posted something saying, well, we don't have enough countries that have enough players because they do a world tournament like every year,
Hmm.
but I think it might only be like 15-ish countries, and some of them are like Saskatchewan, Canada, and Canada. Like, so it's not necessarily like, just Canada, just USA. Um, so I think it would be cool. I mean, I don't think would a lot of people watch it? Probably not, but I definitely think it would be cool. And I don't see why not. And same thing for roller hockey. I mean, roller hockey for the Olympics would be absolutely sick.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean,
Like,
they had break dancing at the last Olympics, I think.
yeah,
You could at
so
least add
exactly.
those three. Like, come on
Yeah.
now. Like those are like sports.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no disrespect to people who do breakdancing
Oh
for a
yeah.
living, but I just think that one lady ruined
She
it for
ruined it
everybody.
for everybody, yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Did
was
you see
that was
the
that.
was it the Vikings player? Was it Cam Byard or the one guy that did all the celebrations and stuff? I know he did one, like he did her dance for like one of his like touchdown celebrations this like season.
Was it
Remember
Cam
seeing that.
Akers?
I don't think it was a defender.
Oh, defender.
It's
Ooh,
Cam something. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't follow the Vikings like that,
yeah, I was
but
gonna say only the people from
it's
Minnesota do.
yeah, but I know he did that celebration and I was like,
Yeah, that's
dang.
funny. That's funny. uh, well, I do appreciate your time, Jack. This was nice. It was nice to get on here and just kind of chat. I definitely hope to have you on here again soon. I mean, we got a nice
Sure.
little like 40-minute pod in, talked about everything from breakdancing to KBHL. So I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
I got one more question that I was thinking of earlier that I wanted to
sure,
ask.
sure.
So, when you were talking about, being physical and stuff, if
Mhm.
fighting were actually allowed in the KBHL, who do you think would have the most penalty minutes, like, from that?
Uh,
I think McKinley for sure,
Probably
but
it'd have to be me or McKinley.
oh,
It'd
true.
have, it'd have
It's
to be
just
me.
that it's just when y'all are on opposite teams every
Yeah,
game.
I
It's
think
like
I
the
think that's
chicken
what it is.
fight from Family Guy.
Yeah, I think I think it would definitely have to be between me and McKinley, and probably McKinley and well, me and McKinley up there for penalty minutes. I don't know how often we would physically fight, but I definitely think Will and McKinley would probably be like Rob Ray and Ty Domi. Like they used to just drop gloves as soon as they saw each other. I definitely
Yep.
think it would be that way. I mean, there was one this was before we started recording, but there was one time where we had to separate Beatrice and McKinley because
Oh gosh.
they started throwing punches at each other. Like Jacob was being super physical with them, and he kept like he finally pushed Beatrice to the ground one time, and Beatrice just came up and just started swinging on him. I remember like I had to like not spear Beatrice, but I had to like pick him up underneath and kind of just like bring him away. And I think a couple other guys grabbed Jacob and pulled him away. And that's the closest we've ever gotten to like an actual
Physical.
fight. Yeah.
That's wild.
Jacob does hold the league lead in penalty minutes across his career. So he's actually been the only guy ever to have a penalty
Taking a
called on.
penalty. No high stickings though, man.
No, actually, one of them was a high stick. I
That's
think
funny.
what video is it? I think it's it might be video 2 or 3, and it might even be the first one. But one of the earlier videos, Jacob and McKinley go for a face off, and they do, like NHL, and on L, Jacob lifts up his stick and catches Sod like right in the
Oh,
eye. And I won't repeat what he said on the podcast at least, but you guys can go and check out the video, and we still quote it to this day. So it was pretty epic.
that's funny.
But no, that definitely is an awesome way to end it off.
Yeah.
Well, once more, I appreciate your time, Jack. Congratulations on winning Comeback Player of the Year, and hopefully, in some time of the calendar year 2025, we can play hockey again without this weather.
Yeah, this weather's been rough. It's awful. I'm ready for the spring. I'm mad at that
Yes,
groundhog. That groundhog
dude.
saw its shadow. I was like, come on, bro. You got to be better
Come
than
on,
that.
you didn't see that, man. You didn't see
Yeah.
that.
I've
Come on,
never
you didn't see it.
I've never understood that because like you sign 50 cameras at somebody, like of course they're gonna see their shadow because there's
Yeah,
lights. It's
exactly.
like 4 in the morning, like they're gonna see their shadow.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
anyways,
Well, again, I appreciate your time. Hopefully, I definitely want to get an episode where we just get like just a crap ton of people on here. I feel like that'd be so cool.
oh for sure, that'd be a lot of fun.
Thank you everybody for listening. I appreciate the time, and hopefully there's a hockey video before our next podcast video. That's definitely the goal. But thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.